Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everybody. It's a great pleasure to have you all this morning for this first breakfast of the shorts. C'est un grand plaisir de vous avoir tous ce matin pour ces premiers petits déj du cours. Et sans plus tarder, j'invite le réalisateur de Weekends, Trevor Jimenez. Hi, Trevor. First, let me congratulate you because I read that you received the grand prize at Anima Bruxelles a few months ago.
Yeah, special jury prize.
Special jury prize, okay.
Thank you.
And tell me about this boy. Who's this boy?
Well, the film's based a lot on my own childhood, so I guess the boy is a childhood version of me. And he's just kind of a kid that's processing everything. And he's curious and sensitive, and that's as much as I can say about him.
The film is set in Toronto.
Yes.
So are you from Toronto?
I'm from Toronto. I was born in Hamilton, Ontario, but my dad lived in Toronto, so a lot of it's based on being at his apartment, and yeah.
Okay. In the end credits, you thank Pixar Studio, a lot of people from Pixar Studio. So tell us about the involvement of the studio in the project.
So Pixar has a shorts program, like a co-op program. The Dam Keeper and Borrowed Time was made in the same program. So they allow employees to use resources and work with their fellow coworkers on their own time, and you get to own the short afterwards. So I worked with a lot of friends at the studio. My closest collaborator was Chris Sasaki, who was a production designer on it. And actually, one of the people, Ji-yoon, is here, who helped on the film as well. But we had around 20 people from the studio just work on their off hours and help with the film.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
There is a very nice work on the music in the film, and the fact that you pick some music as like Eric Satie or Mark Knopfler and Dire Straits. So it was at the origin of the project when you thought about this film, the place of the music and the place of music that exists before the film and was not score for the film.
Yeah, very much so. The Money for Nothing song, my dad played in the car rides to his apartment, so that was always part of the story. And for me, kind of set the film in the 80s in a certain time period as well. And then my mom played a lot of piano, not that Satie song, but I love the kind of feeling of it, so I put it in the film just to have two kind of counter themes in the short.
And tell us about the horse.
The horse. Yeah, so I actually had a wood antique horse growing up. My dad was an antique collector, and I had a red horse in my room. So a lot of it was just taken from, my childhood. And
so basically, it's very realistic.
A lot of it is. Yeah.
A lot of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And did you work alone on the script because it seems very personal, and also it's the narrative is very clear and very efficient. So did you work alone on it?
Thanks. Yeah, I did. I spent a long time. So I had the idea for about 10 years, working on it during my off hours, slowly. But yeah, it's very personal. So I wrote and edited the animatic and just took a long time on it. Yeah.
It is an old project. It is something that you wanted to make since a long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I had the idea back in 2007. I made a student film that played here, and then right after that, started coming up with the idea for it, and had the Money for Nothing song and some images in my head, and I started boarding and editing animatic maybe 5 years ago. Yeah. Oh. And then kind of slowly put it together. And then spent a year in production animating.
Was that hard to find an end to this story?
Yes, yeah, very much so. So I had an old ending that was more resolute, more resolved, and it didn't feel honest for me. I like 3 years, you work on it for so long. 3 years into writing it, some stuff changed in my personal life, and then the ending didn't feel right. So it ended up leading to a more kind of ambiguous, open ending for me that felt more honest. Yeah.
Questions from people here? Yes, Nancy. Just a second, Nancy.
I really like your film very much, but I'm wondering if your parents are still alive, have they seen it, and how do they think you see them as opposed to what really happened in their heads?
Yeah, they're both still alive. My mom's seen the film in all of its versions. She's very supportive of it. I think it's kind of emotional for her and weird watching it, but she respects the perspective. My dad can't really get much out of, so I think he likes it on an aesthetic level, but it's hard to kind of know more than that. Yeah.
Martin?
Hi. 2 questions. One is about the raccoon. Was that something that came from your historical background, or did you pick it for the symbolic value of it as a scavenger and someone who just receives the leftover emotions from the mother? And the second one is about the candle in the boyfriend's design. I wondered if that was meant to suggest the character was incendiary. I was expecting it to be a potentially abusive character, but it seems more like just a distortion of the early celebration.
Yeah, so I'll answer the raccoon question first. There were raccoons everywhere growing up in Canada, and they always ate our trash, and they were like really annoying, and I had to clean up the garbage that they'd eat. So I just like that being an element. And I think, I didn't think of the scavenger and the leftover emotion, which is really interesting, but just the idea of something kind of wild and like not welcoming, I like that aspect. And with the candle, it is, kind of like a volatile presence. I think incendiary is like a really good word to use. Yeah.
Okay. All right. But this volatility came about because of an action from the child.
I would say it's more the character, more the guy with the candle on his head that's the cause of the...
Yeah, I don't see it as problematic. I just wonder what your development was. All right, thanks.
No problem.
Thank you, Martin. Candy, did you have a question?
Yeah. I was wondering about the brace around the mother's neck. I wanted her to get better at some point. Was this chronic?
So this was just taken from my mom again. She had a lot of car accidents when I was growing up, and always had a neck brace on. So that's just how I remember her when I was a kid. And for me, it was just a way to show visually like a fragility. I've thought about it in hindsight because this question has come up a lot, and I wanted to remove it now, but that's where it comes from. Yeah.
Une autre question, another question. Monsieur, ici.
Hello, thank you very much for your movie. I was just wondering about the decoration of the kid's bedroom, like with all the handprints. Where does that come from?
It's another like real thing. When we moved into a house, my mom let me just paint my room whatever color I wanted, so I just put handprints everywhere. Yeah, there's pictures.
One last question for Trevor Jimenez.
I really appreciated the landscapes, all the texture of the whole environment of your movie, the town, the country, both sides of a life for a child. And how long did it take? And was it something very meticulous to achieve?
The actual like kind of production, like the background painting and
Background painting.
yeah. So Chris Sasaki is a really talented artist. He came up with the style, which involved I drew all the layouts in charcoal, and then he painted over in Photoshop with all these special brushes. And we had a team of like 7 people helping us paint all the backgrounds. So yeah, we spent a lot of time, and thanks for the compliments. Yeah, but that was the process.
And also for the lighting candles, it was your idea or the idea of the painter?
The candle?
Yes, with the light, red lights.
Which part? Can you maybe rephrase?
At the end of the, outside of the house, on the porch, you have candles with the red light.
The candles. Like with the raccoon outside?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was me. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Trevor. Great to have you this morning.